Any questions? Why don't we skip ahead to this classwork over here? Uh, why don't you guys try, you know what, I don't even need two different ways. So try 3 and 4. Try those for a moment. And type done in the chat box when you're finished. $322, yes I can. All right, looks like a lot of us are done here. So there is probably more than one way to do this, but for the purposes of calculus, there is kind of a best way to do this. And I'm hoping that you guys wrote it like this. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change the name to h of x, just because f usually means the outside and g means the inside. And I'm going to do something that you may not like. So what I'm going to do is, remember earlier I talked about radical notation versus exponential notation. When I see when I see this function h of x, my first instinct is to write this as 2 minus x to the negative 1/2. Does that make sense to everybody that I write it like that? If I do write it like that, if you allow me to write it like that, then our f of x is going to be x to the negative 1/2, and our g of x is going to be the inside, which is 2 minus x. Now, you may have written it like 1 over square root of x, but as I expressed to you earlier, I prefer to write it in exponential form. I hope you guys got this answer. Yes? Okay. Does anyone have any questions about this? No. Okay. Let's look at the fourth one. The fourth one, if you read this question carefully, it says, write this as a composition of 3 functions. So maybe when we write this guy, we want to say the outside the middle and the inside. Okay, so when I look at this, to me, the outside function, let me rewrite this, hold on, move this guy. So L of x, if you let me rewrite this, this becomes sine of pi x squared like that, right? So I think the outside should be x squared. I think the middle should be sine of x, and I think the inside should be pi x. Does that make sense to everybody? Is there any questions? Yeah. Okay. Try number 5. Now that I look at it, I don't love number 5 either. This is not well designed. Might give you another one to try. Call it 5A. So you could type even, odd, or neither in the chat box. And then when I say enter, you'll hit enter. Okay, so type your answer, even, odd, or neither. 1, 2, 3, enter. Oh, what a nice variety of answers. Okay, maybe this is a great one to do. No, this is good, this is good, this is good. So let's take g of negative x. And then what are we going to get? We're going to get cosine of negative x minus negative x squared plus 1, right? Is cosine even or odd? Well, cosine is even, and we could see that by looking at the graph of cosine. So let me prove it to you. This is y is equal to cosine x. If you look at this graph, can you see how this is symmetric about the x-axis, about the y-axis? So that means it's even, right? So cosine's even. So since cosine is even, that means that cosine of negative x is cosine of x. Negative x quantity squared, that's just going to be x squared. And with the plus 1 there, there's nothing to do. Like you're not plugging in anything. So when I look at this, is this the same as my original function? Yes, it is. This is the same as g of x. So this is even. Does that make sense to you all? A lot of us got different answers. So I'm curious as to where things went wrong. I guess I asked you this question on your homework as well. So when I grade your homework, maybe I'll get better insight into what you're thinking about. But to be honest, I thought I could get 2 sections done today, and I'm barely going to finish one, which is fine. Let's take some time to do another example. Let's do h of x equal to sine of x plus x cubed minus 1. Call this guy 5b. So I don't know if you recall, but sine x is supposed to be odd. So let me just show you a graph of that so you can see. Maybe we can hide the cosine. So when you see, you should see on your screen this graph of sine, and I want you to visually try to imagine like rotating it 180 degrees, and you'll see that you still get um, the same graph. Okay. So looks like most of us has finished. I want you to type your answer in the chat box, and then I'll count it down. So ready? 1, 2, 3, enter. All right, all right. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's try it. So we want h of negative x. So what we're going to do is we're going to plug sine negative x plus negative x cubed minus 1, like this, right? And how does this thing simplify? Well, we know that sine is odd. So that means when you insert a negative x, that's the same thing. Whoa. That's the same thing as negative sine of x. Okay. Then the next guy is negative x cubed. So you can really write this like this. This is like negative 1 cubed x cubed. And you got minus 1. Now, as you probably know, any negative 1 raised to an odd power is just negative 1. So this basically becomes negative sine x minus x cubed minus 1. Okay. So if this was odd, then I can factor out a negative 1 and get the same as h of x. So let me factor out a negative 1. When I factor out a negative 1, we get negative. I'm going to get sine of x plus x cubed plus 1. Now, when you look at this guy, is this the same as my original function h of x? It is not, because it differs by a sign right here. So this is not h of x. So in this particular case, this guy is neither. I'm tempted to give you one that's odd. Um, I kind of want to point out to you that if something is going to remain unchanged when you rotate it 180 degrees, it kind of has to go through the origin. And that sort of constant term on the end kind of shifts it away from the origin. So for an odd one, you would get the h of x on that inside there, but we didn't in this case. Okay. So I only have 10 minutes left, so let me